Greetings and salutations one and all. Welcome to the night shift. It's the last Tuesday in June. Who would have thunk it? Not only is it the last Tuesday, but the last day of June. We're here. Welcome to July. Greetings to each and every one of you locked in right now. Those on TuneIn Radio, the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Across the pond, One Harmony Radio, top of the morning to you guys over there. Those on WGLRO, home of the Donny Walker Morning Show. The People Station taking you from the sheets to the streets. Touching from Detroit to Denmark and all points in between. Big ups to each and every one of you. Those on PEMGTV.com. And of course, those right here at the home of the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. KevinStew.com. Glad to have you. Couldn't do it without you. You have my word. I wouldn't even try. Kicking it off with the sound of voice. Yes, it is Healthy Love Night. The track is called Alive and Well.
Reach them watching your things. So you are sure they can't talk to me. Guardian angels watch over me. Every morning I kneel down and pray for my family. Look, I say you are sure no bad company could take away what you give to me. When I see negative energy, only next way. Oh, bad mind I don't know. Send them but tell them you will see me now. You see me now. You see me now.
I want to say thanks to Pulse Media Group for sponsoring this segment of the show. But being in a moment is priceless. Give them a call. 754-999-6020. They provide innovative streaming and recording solutions. If you have an event you want to stream, they got the hookup for you. Everything that you see right here on KevinStew.com, they can make that happen for you also. They can create your website, they can host your website, they can provide streaming services for your website. As well as your individual event. If you want to take it a step further and have a whole broadcast station, an internet station of your own, they can hook you up with that too. Visit them at paulcmg.com or give them a call 754-999-6020. Tell them you heard about them on the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew. To the people
never let man play. Get up and make some progress today. Cause I know Jah have a big plan for it. Every artist listening out there, influence the youth directly. Leave a message in your song from today. Cause I know Jah have a big plan for it.
So there are some people that are saying, listen, you caught the virus, but it was good knowing you. What do you want for your farewell service? What can I have of yours? They're already starting to divide the things that you own, and just from hearing that you caught the virus. You remember? I remember when I was young, when I was younger, and anybody talked about the virus, you hear anybody mention the virus, it was HIV. Now, you don't hear people talking about HIV that much these days. Everybody talking about COVID. That's the virus. SARS-CoV-2. SARS-CoV-2. And so now the thing is, hey, when you get this virus, that's it. It's a wrap. It's all over. And if you pay attention to the news and you watch social media, or some people on social media, you really would believe that. And that's not necessarily true. They say if it don't go so it go near so. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a little close to it, but it's not all of it. According to research conducted in Switzerland, and we don't hear a lot of the research done from that side of the world, but according to research conducted in Switzerland, SARS-CoV-2 specific antibodies are only found in the most severe cases, which are really about 1 in 5. So that suggests COVID-19 may in fact be 5 times more prevalent than had been suspected. But not only that, it also could mean that it may be 5 times less deadly than it was predicted. So what's all the fuss about? It's food for thought. You have to ask the question, what's all the fuss about? Why? Last week I had Dr. Ashby on, and we touched on this a little bit. And he and I had conversation, had dialogue. We weren't cutting anybody. We had dialogue off the ear. And it's one of those things that you really have to pay attention to all the information, not just some of the information. And we have a tendency to just take some of the information and just run with that. And we kind of need to move away from that and get to the point where we're saying, hey, all right, let me look up some more information on this. Is there something more? Is there something that I might be missing? And whereas you may not have all the wherewithal to say, okay, I'm going to work with this bit of information and I'm going to take it and do XYZ. Cool. But knowledge is power. You get some knowledge, then you're in a better position to defend your case when you're knowledgeable about what you're talking about, right? The study, and for those of you tuning in and listening in and want to chime in with comments, feel free. You can visit kevinstew.com and jump into the stew pot. It's you can remain totally anonymous, and it's a judgment-free zone. So let me get your feedback. This is interactive. You can call, you can text, you can WhatsApp 773-789-STEW. That's 773-789-7839. And you can also Skype if you're overseas and you can't get to kevinstew.com. You want to Skype, feel free. It's kevin.stew. All really easy. Or if you want to use my email to find me, it's djkevinstew@gmail.com. Nice and easy. All right, so the study being systemic and mucosal antibody secretion specific to SARS during mild versus severe COVID-19. That's the study. Kind of a long title. That study was posted on the pre-publication server bioRxiv, and that was on May 23rd, 2020. And according to the authors, when symptomatic COVID-19 can range from a mild flu-like illness in about 81% to a severe and critical disease in about 14 and 5% of affected patients, respectively. The Swiss study, which sought to investigate SARS-CoV specific antibody responses, found that even though people who had been exposed to infected individuals had SARS-CoV-2 specific immunoglobulin A, or IgA, antibodies in their mucosa, there were no virus-specific antibodies in their blood. Immunoglobulin A, IgA, is an antibody that plays a crucial role in the immune function of your mucous membranes, while IgG is the most common. Immunoglobulin G is the most common antibody that protects against bacterial and viral infections and is found in blood and other bodily fluids. As explained by the authors, quote, as with other coronaviruses, symptomatic SARS-CoV-2 disease causes an acute infection with activation of the innate and adaptive immune systems. The former leads to the release of several pro-inflammatory cytokines, including interleukin 6. And you will hear doctors talk about the cytokine storm that comes along with COVID-19. Subsequently, B and T cells become activated, resulting in the production of SARS-CoV-2 specific antibodies comprising immunoglobulin M, IgM, immunoglobulin A, and immunoglobulin G. Whereas coronavirus specific IgM production is transient and leads to isotope switch to IgA and IgG, these latter antibody subtypes can persist for extended periods in the serum and nasal fluids. Whether SARS-CoV-2 specific IgG antibodies correlate with virus control is a matter of intense discussions. Which means, basically, they haven't come to a conclusion on that yet. Now, in COVID-19 positive patients with mild symptoms, SARS-CoV-2 specific IgA titers turned positive an average of 8 days after onset of symptoms and were mostly transient. In some cases, however, IgA were completely absent. Serum IgG levels either remained negative or reached positive values 9 to 10 days after symptom onset. In patients with severe symptoms, a high significant increase of both SARS-CoV-2 specific serum IgA titers were found on day 3 or 4. And even more pronounced IgG titers were present on day 4 or 5. Both were independent of age or comorbidities. Only in severe cases of acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS, ARDS, were very high levels of IgA found. According to the authors, interestingly, can't talk tonight. Interestingly, some of the SARS-CoV-2 exposed healthcare workers with negative SARS-CoV-2 specific IgA and IgG serum titers had detectable SARS-CoV-2 specific IgA antibodies in their nasal fluids and tears. Moreover, SARS-CoV-2 specific IgA levels in nasal fluids of these healthcare workers were inversely correlated with patient age. These data show that systemic IgA and IgG production against SARS-CoV-2 develops mainly in severe COVID-19, with very high IgA levels seen in patients with severe ARDS, whereas mild disease may be associated with transient serum titers of SARS-CoV-2 specific antibodies, but stimulate mucosal SARS-CoV-2 specific IgA secretion. These findings suggest 4 grades of antibody responses dependent on COVID-19 severity. They go on to say, we think these findings suggest a model where the extent and duration of SARS-CoV-2 related clinical symptoms, which likely correlates with virus replication, dictates the level of virus-specific humoral immunity. This hypothesis is consistent with previous publications demonstrating that the magnitude of the humoral response towards SARS-CoV-2 is dependent on the duration and magnitude of viral antigen exposure. Low antigen exposure will elicit mucosal IgA-mediated responses, which can be accompanied by systemic IgA production. However, systemic virus-specific IgA responses can also be absent, transient, or delayed. This type of mucosal IgA antibody response seems to be particularly prevalent in younger individuals with mild SARS-CoV-2 infection without evidence of pneumonia. So, basically, they're saying, a lot of young people are not really displaying some of the symptoms that the older ones have, 1. And 2, if you're doing antibody tests, there's some things that, unless you're looking in the right place for the right mixture, you're not going to find anything. The Swiss researchers, and I haven't heard anybody talking about the any other research being done in Switzerland or any other parts of the world, for whatever reason. And I haven't heard the people in some other parts of the world talking about getting a vaccination. I haven't heard about the Swiss talking about it. But the Swiss researchers suggest that these findings could be a reflection of increased mucosal immunity in the young or decreased mucosal immunity in the old. They point out previous data showing HKU1 specific IgG antibodies responding to another type of coronavirus that causes the common cold, and that they are absent in people under the age of 20, while higher levels of these antibodies are found in older people. So they're saying, well, hey, your humoral immune system can kick in if there's cross reactivity with another very similar pathogen. And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, okay. So something else that looks like COVID-19, like SARS-CoV, could trigger antibodies that would actually be useful in the fight against COVID-19. In the case of COVID-19, there's evidence to suggest exposure to other coronaviruses that cause a common cold can confer immunity against SARS-CoV-2. Now, that could explain something else. That could actually explain why more cases are being reported. Because if there's evidence that other coronaviruses that cause the common cold can trigger an immune response quite similar to that of SARS-CoV-2, or if you want to turn it around, that COVID-19 can trigger the same type of responses as the common cold, then could it possibly be that there is a level of protection that the majority of us, are already walking around with? And if that is the case, then if we do contract the virus and it's evident that we have it, would we really need a vaccination? An untested vaccination? I'm just tossing questions out there. I don't have the answers. I am a DJ, not a DR. But these questions need to be asked. So, extrapolation suggests infants and children have primed mucosal innate and IgA antibody responses due to their frequent upper respiratory tract infections, and therefore respond preferentially in this manner to SARS-CoV-2 infection. On the other hand, studies have shown the strength of antiviral immune responses, including T-cell activation and proliferation, slows with age. This can partially explain why older people are vastly more susceptible to severe COVID-19 illness and death. Other factors like vitamin D levels and immunosenescence that increases in the elderly are also likely important. Now, of course, there are some young people that are losing in the battle when it comes to coronavirus. But there is something else that is to be taken into consideration when you come across those. Oftentimes, more often than not, there is a pre-existing condition. And those range from anything from sickle cell to autoimmune diseases. And No, I'm not saying COVID-19 is not to be respected. No, don't get it twisted. If you have the virus, I'm not coming to visit you. Let's get that out clear right then and there. I'm not coming to visit you. I have children that have sensitive respiratory issues. I am not going to expose myself to something that may not affect me, but could very well affect them. So, no, I'm not coming to visit you. But at the same time, I'm not expecting you to die. If you're healthy, otherwise, and you contract this virus, I'm not expecting you to die. I know of people over 90 that have recovered. The majority of people that have contracted it and been and reported as being sick have recovered. About 8 times as many have recovered than those that have died. But we don't hear about the recoveries now, do we? Because that's not a focal point. The focal point is the fact that the virus is there and people are dying. Well, of course, for me, I see that being a strong focal point for pharmaceutical companies. Because now they get to move products. They're in business. The objective of being in business, the objective is to be profitable. If you're in a profit-making business, and hey, we know that the pharmaceutical business is not a non-for-profit. They're very much for profit. And why wouldn't they want to profit off of us? It's a business. But you think because we are human beings that... No. It is the human beings that have the money. Duh. Catching, we're going to profit. So it's not that anybody should take it personal. But you shouldn't take it lying down either. Figuratively or literally. We're going to take a quick little break. When we come back, we talk some more about the whole idea that more people could actually already be resistant to SARS-CoV-2. Who knew? We'll be right back. I think we'll be right back. You know, I these devices, I tell you. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Pulsey Media Group, innovative streaming and recording, has done it again. A new way to get your business in full view of your neighborhood consumer through AdShare TV. It's available in your neighborhood today. It's easy. Just call us 754-999-6020. Become a host today and place a TV monitor in a strategic location so it's easy to see. Get a 1-minute video ad or longer that plays anywhere in our network. Can't be a host? No problem. For a few dollars, we'll run your 30-second video ad. A host can run announcement specials like buy one get one free or discount ads. Let's turn your flyers into a 30-second video with music or a voiceover, or let us create and run your video ad with a spokesperson. Take advantage of our early enrollment discount. Join us today. Your ad will be seen at least 30 times per day in your AdShare TV neighborhood. It's easy. Just call us 754-999-6020. AdShare TV, part of Pulsey Media Group.
I'm Khalib Thompson.
I'm David Muir.
And we are the co-founders of a cultural nonprofit in Florida called Island Space.
For many reasons, now more than ever, we need the support of our communities.
As Caribbean Americans, we have the unique ability to claim everyone from the island as members of our Caribbean American family.
We are working to create a home for that family.
The Island Archives will become an internationally recognized museum of history.
Visitors can learn that although we are unique, we are truly stronger together.
Learn more at islandspacefl.org.
It takes an entire village to raise a child. Hello, I'm Paul Campbell, here to talk about Palace. Peace and Love Academic Scholarship. This nonprofit group supports students facing serious obstacles from entering or continuing their studies, not because the grades are failing, but due to the lack of financial support.
Over the past 8 years, Palace has awarded 600 scholarships valued at approximately 50.3 million Jamaican dollars, or 415,000 US dollars.
Together, we must build a better future for our children. Please visit www.palace1.org and make your donation to brighten the future of a deserving child. Palace, preserving young minds for posterity.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is working to help keep you and your community safe from the threat of novel or new coronavirus. Take the following everyday steps to help avoid the spread of all respiratory viruses. Wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue. Throw the tissue away and then wash your hands. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects or surfaces, such as remote controls and doorknobs. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. And stay home if you are sick. Call your healthcare provider if you develop fever, cough, or difficulty breathing. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school, I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym, I learned that I'm pathetic and a joke. In history, I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me.
In biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid. And in math, I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today?
The only thing I didn't learn today?
The only thing I didn't learn
is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. A message from the Ad Council.
It's Christina representing for DJ Kevin. You see me, I say, I don't know the boss. You see me, I say, DJ Kevin's Chew and the night shift radio show. Yo, the thing, turn up the thing loud. Whoa, DJ Kevin's Chew have the heart of a champion. Never underestimate, just choose him. The silver line behind the dark clouds. DJ Kevin's Chew believe him, and that's no doubt. Salute the night shift radio show. Listen to start it up loud.
What we got here is not a fool's dream.
Let's bring on the changes. The sound of incognito. It's called Change. I want to say thanks to Althea and her healing heavenly hands. Thank you, Althea SU, for sponsoring this segment of the show. Althea is a licensed massage therapist that comes to you. She operates out of Broward County, North Miami-Dade, and South Palm Beach counties. Give her a call, 954-655-9000, or email her at thealater@att.net and see what she can do for you. Within reason, of course. So if you're just tuning in, we're asking the question. Could it be that people are already resistant to COVID-19? Which is really a scary question if you look into it. Scary from a few angles. It will be scary that we're getting information from a source that is intentionally causing stress and panic. Now, it would not have been the first time. And politics, in the game of politics, you often find things like this happening. So it would not have been the first time that tactics like these are being employed. So you really have to wonder, could there be something more to this? Now, as noted in an article on offguardian.com, which reported the results of the Swiss study, if the authors are indeed correct in their estimation, this might mean SARS-CoV-2's infection rate, the IFR, would need to be revised downward yet again. It was done before, they would need to do it again. If 80% of those infected really do not produce antibodies, then there is a live possibility the virus is present in many more people than usually supposed, which would in turn potentially reduce the IFR possibly considerably. In the early stages, the WHO, the World Health Organization, estimated the virus's infection rate to be as high as 3.4%. The models based on those numbers have, however, been shown to be wildly inaccurate. Dissenting experts appear to have been vindicated by the serological studies, using blood tests looking for SARS-CoV-2 antibodies done across different populations all over the world, which routinely suggest the infection rate is closer to 0.3% than the WHO's initial figure of 3.4%. things that make you ask why. From Japan to Iceland to Los Angeles, the numbers returned were between 0.06 and 0.4, within the range of seasonal influenza. As a result of these studies, the US CDC's most recent estimated IFR is between 0.26 and 0.4%, roughly 1/10 of the initial estimates. But how much have you heard about that? Again, I'm not saying there's not reason to be concerned. I'm just saying, why, when the initial level of concern was raised, that nothing was said in follow-up? Don't we deserve to know all the information? So, I guess the argument could be that we need to be protected. So the government needs to protect its citizens, and since the government is informed, they're going to take steps to protect their citizens. Correct? Okay. So let's run with that theory for a little while. Where now the government is seeing, okay, economies are failing, we need to do something. Let's go ahead and open back up and have people interacting once again. Well, naturally, any virus that is at play in our environment at this time is going to spike. That if everybody was sitting at home and it was the flu, when everybody came out, everybody was going to be getting the flu. But yet still we keep saying how people are dying, how many people are dying, and we're not saying how many people are recovering. And we're not saying why they're recovering. And we're not saying the commonalities with those who don't display severe reactions to this virus. So, what happened to those bits of information? For clarity, it is important to realize you have two types of immunity. Your innate immune system is primed and ready to attack foreign invaders at any moment and is your first line of defense. Your adaptive immune system, on the other hand, remembers previous exposures to pathogens, and then they mount a response when an old foe is recognized. Your adaptive immune system is further divided into two arms: humoral immunity, B cells, and cells-mediated immunity, T cells, or humoral, whichever one you feel more comfortable using. The B cells and T cells are manufactured as needed from specialized stem cells. You see how good our body is? Now, they're actual graphs, and I managed to get these together also to share them with everybody watching on kevinstew.com. They are from a vitamin D document, and they were designed to help understand the components of the systems and their timing. Let me put up the first one. Here we go. Now, if you have never been exposed to a disease, but are given antibodies from someone who got sick and recovered, you can gain humoral immunity against that disease. Your humoral immune system can also kick in if there's cross reactivity with another very similar pathogen. In the case of COVID-19, there's evidence to suggest exposure to other coronaviruses that cause the common cold can confer immunity against SARS-CoV-2. Crazy, right? And it is with that bit of information that now makes you go, wait, hold up. Maybe we do need to pay a little bit closer attention to some of the information that we're getting and look some more into what other bits of information is out there. One study was published on May 14, 2020, in the journal Cell. It found 70% of samples obtained by the La Jolla Institute for Immunology from patients who had recovered from mild cases of COVID-19 had resistance to SARS-CoV-2 on the T cell level. Curiously, 40 to 60% of people who had not been exposed to SARS-CoV-2 also had a resistance to the virus on the T cell level. According to the authors, this suggests there's cross-reactive T cell recognition between circulating common cold coronaviruses and SARS-CoV-2. In other words, if you've recovered from a common cold caused by a particular coronavirus, your humoral immune system may activate when you encounter SARS-CoV-2, thus rendering you resistant to COVID-19. You know, we were wondering, how is it that some people don't display any symptoms of COVID-19? Well, this could very well be an explanation. May 14, 2020, Science magazine reported these cell findings, drawing parallels to another earlier paper by German investigators that had come to a similar conclusion. That German paper, the preprint of which was posted April 22, 2020 on medRxiv, found helper T cells that targeted the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein in 15 of 18 patients hospitalized with COVID-19, as reported by Science. Quote, the teams also asked whether people who have been infected with SARS-CoV-2 also produce cells that combat it. Thiel and colleagues analyzed blood from 68 uninfected people and found that 34% hosted helper T cells that recognized SARS-CoV-2. The La Jolla team detected this cross-reactivity in about half of stored blood samples collected between 2015 and 2018, well before the current pandemic began. That also raises some other questions. The results suggest one reason that a large chunk of the population may be able to deal with the virus is that we may have some small residual immunity from her exposure to common cold viruses, says viral immunologist Steve Varga of the University of Iowa. However, neither of these studies attempted to establish that people with cross-reactivity do not become ill from COVID-19. Before these studies, researchers didn't know whether T cells played a role in eliminating SARS-CoV-2 or even whether they could provoke a dangerous immune system overreaction. These papers are really helpful because they start to define the T cell component of the immune response. Columbia University virologist Angela Ramusin had said that was her input on the matter. Now, some of these people, well, I haven't heard of any of these people actually. And probably because I haven't read any of these journals. However, we are aware that these journals exist. And we are aware that not all the information that we're given is all the information that can be given. So here now we have some other bits of information to say, hey, you know, we got blood samples here from as far back as 5 years ago that show a level of protectivity against this new coronavirus. So how new is this coronavirus really? And I tell you that when you come across information like that, it lets you ask other questions. These are some of the other questions. This is the first question that comes to my mind. If and again, it can be proven by way of cross-reactivity. And if that is the argument that you're going to come with, fine. I will go with that. But there's also the question of how new is this coronavirus, and do we only know about it now because this has been the focus? You know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So that thing about which the most noise is being made is going to get that attention. So here we had COVID-19 rolling in, and all the attention was there, and then the protests start. And a lot of the attention was pulled away from COVID-19. But before COVID-19, there was 5G. And the towers being installed all over the metropolitan areas. Notice we don't hear anything about that anymore. It's not the focus. That's not what the most noise is being made up again about. So now we have more questions than we do have answers. Now, some of these answers don't have concrete proof. But there's also no concrete proof that the vaccines that are being rolled out can work. If they say that they have concrete proof, then they're saying they know this virus. They're admitting to having knowledge of this virus. And they can't do that. Because no, that causes more problems. All I'm saying is, ask the questions. We're not asking the questions. So because we're not asking the questions, we're not getting the answers. And we need to ask the questions and we need to get answers so that we can be informed in our decisions and not be the sheeple that we're being forced to be. Sheeple doesn't look good on all of us. Let me just say that right now. I know I don't look, well, depending on the wool, I might look good in it. But wool can get pretty warm. We're going to take another quick little break. We'll be right back after these messages and we'll close out this segment of the show and get into some musical therapy. Call a friend, tell a friend. We still have an hour left in the show. We'll be right back. Matthew 28:19 says, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations." With this in mind and encouragement received during a South Florida media conference, The Church Links was birthed. The Church Links is an interdenominational worship service portal for churches, providing the tools to spread the word through technology in a cost-effective way. The Church Links, www.dahchurchlinx.com. Your links to worship and praise.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others, and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Come on, smile. Oh, honey, he's still not smiling.
Maybe he's not a smiler.
Yeah, maybe he's just not a happy baby.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Or maybe he's teething.
Maybe it's just a phase.
Maybe he has autism, and we can definitely do something to help.
Maybe is all you need to find out more about autism. No big, joyful smiles by 6 months is one early sign. Learn the others at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
When being in the moment is priceless, consider the ability to share that moment. If you can video it, you can broadcast it. And Pulse E-Media Group has the tools you need. Weddings, birthdays, funerals, graduations, church services, parties, seminars, you name it. Pulse E-Media Group can provide you with a secure medium controlled by you to broadcast your event. Contact us at www.pulsemediagroup.com for more information. Pulse E-Media Group, when being in the moment is priceless. Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.
Hey yo, this is Caraman to let you know that right about now you are logged on to DJ Kevin Stew on the Night Shift. Don't move.
When I grow older, what you want to become? Focus entertainment. Make that be your challenge. Pay attention to your dream. It's always now. True, we ambitious. Make them no like we. Them not go like we, cause we are go have things in a life. Get a youth for rich when you're rich. Take care of your family. Make sure your auntie, your uncle, sister, brother, alright. Everyone forget a small slice. Time to advance. Write down your plans.
want to thank Reggae Global Entertainment for sponsoring this segment of the show. Reggae Global can be your booking agents. Take care of your tour management. Handle your copywriting, your publishing, your trademarks, music production, marketing and promotions, and so much more. Give them a call, 954-998-8034, or visit them at reggaeglobalentertainment.com. From the album 369, this is Jadan. The track is called Time to Advance.
Advance, write down your plans, execution, create solution.
There you go. We got to create solutions, and we have to advance. It is the lack of advancing that is really the challenge. You know, we're not moving forward. We're staying pretty much in a rut. We get a little bit of information, we analyze it for a little while, and we think that, okay, the next bit of information is going to make us, get us that much closer to being in a position where we can develop a new norm. And then we only get set back with the bit of information that comes after that. So it's kind of cyclical. So we move forward a little bit, so we move back a little bit. So we move forward a little bit, so we move back a little bit. And it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, if it is true that the majority of us are already resistant to COVID-19 due to previous exposure to other coronaviruses, because, again, COVID-19 is just one of many coronaviruses. So, if exposure to other coronaviruses make us a little bit resistant to COVID-19, then we probably already reached the threshold for herd immunity. And vaccinating every human on the planet or close to will not be necessary. Here we go. In fact, it is starting to look as though a vaccine may be entirely moot. But millions of dollars were spent to create this vaccine. Or was it? Because this vaccine is not like the other vaccines in development and research, and so as much resources they didn't need to put that much resources into creating this vaccine. But they can make so much money from it. This research also hints at the possibility that herd immunity isn't what we think it is. The cross-reactivity on the T-cell level seen with SARS-CoV-2 and other coronaviruses may also exist for other viruses. On the flip side, there's a phenomenon known as viral interference, where exposure to one virus makes you more susceptible to other viruses. Research has found that those who received the influenza vaccine were 36% more susceptible to coronavirus infection. This too may be playing a role in COVID-19 deaths among the elderly, since most of who reside in nursing homes are given the flu vaccine each and every year. Some of you might remember I did a show on dormant viruses in our system and the possibility that here comes coronavirus to activate other viruses that have been dormant. Is that so far-fetched? I don't think so. If there's one thing that doing science in school had taught me, is that you look at all angles. Everything is worth looking into until you get a distinct, outright answer. Yet another study, this one by researchers in Singapore, found common colds caused by beta coronaviruses OC43 and HKU1 might make you more resistant to SARS-CoV-2 infection, and that the resulting immunity might last as long as 17 years. In addition to the common cold, OC43 and HKU1, two of the most commonly encountered beta coronaviruses, are also known to cause bronchitis, acute exacerbation of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and pneumonia in all age groups. And this was reported by the Daily Mail. And they said they share many genetic features with the coronaviruses COVID-19, MERS, and SARS, all of which passed from animals to humans. Coronaviruses are thought to account for up to 30% of all colds, but it is not known specifically how many are caused by the beta coronavirus types. Now, scientists have found evidence that some immunity may be present for many years due to body's memory T cells from attacks by previous viruses with a similar genetic makeup, even among people who have no known exposure to COVID-19 or SARS. You know, it is said there's nothing new under the sun. Blood was taken from 24 patients who had recovered from COVID-19. 23 had become ill from SARS, and 18 who had never been exposed to either SARS or COVID-19. Half of patients in the group with no exposure to either COVID-19 or SARS possessed T cells which showed immune response to the animal beta coronaviruses, COVID-19, and SARS. This suggested patients' immunity developed after exposure to common colds caused by beta coronaviruses, or possibly from yet unknown pathogen or pathogens. In other words, if you have already beat a common cold caused by an OC43 or HKU1 beta coronavirus in the past, you may have a 50-50 chance of having defensive T cells that can recognize and help defend against SARS-CoV-2, the novel coronavirus that causes COVID-19. According to the researchers, these findings demonstrate that virus-specific memory T cells induced by beta coronavirus infection are long-lasting which support the notion that COVID-19 patients would develop long-term T-cell immunity. Our findings also raise the intriguing possibility that infection with related viruses can also protect from or modify the pathology caused by SARS-CoV-2. All of these studies add support to the latest COVID-19 mortality models, suggesting there is in fact widespread resistance and prior immunity. Freddie Sayers, executive editor of Unheard, recently interviewed Professor Carl Friston, a statistician whose expertise is mathematical modeling, who believes prior immunity across the global population might be as high as 80%. Friston is credited with inventing the statistical parametric mapping technique, which is now the standard for understanding brain imaging. As the pandemic erupted, he began applying this method of analysis, which he refers to as the dynamic causal modeling. He applied it to COVID-19 data, coming up with a model that predicts far lower mortality rates than earlier models. The reason for this is because the effective susceptible population, meaning those who are not already immune to COVID-19 and therefore at risk of infection, was never 100%. At most, it was 50%, and most likely around 20%. Friston's model effectively vaporizes claims that social distancing is necessary, because once sensible behaviors such as staying home when sick are entered into it, the positive effect of lockdown efforts on flattening the curve simply vanish. In all likelihood, the global lockdowns were completely unnecessary and certainly should not continue, now or in the future. Support for Friston's model comes from Michael Levitt, a professor of structural biology at the Stanford School of Medicine, who received the Nobel Prize in 2013 for his development of multi-scale models for complex chemical systems. According to Levitt, statistical data reveal a mathematical pattern that has stayed consistent regardless of the government interventions implemented. While early models predicted an exponential explosion of COVID-19 deaths, those predictions never materialized. As reported by Sayers in a video, and you can find that video if you go searching for it. But he says, after around a 2-week exponential growth of cases and subsequently deaths, some kind of break kicks in and growth starts slowing down. The curve quickly becomes sub-exponential. This may seem like a technical distinction, but its implications are actually profound. The unmitigated scenarios modeled by, among others, Imperial College, and which titled governments across the world, tilted governments across the world into drastic action, relied on a presumption of continued exponential growth. But Professor Levitt's point is that hasn't actually happened anywhere, even in countries that have been relatively lax in their responses. Levitt believes prior immunity plays a significant role in why we simply don't see an exponential growth pattern of COVID-19 deaths. And that certainly seems to make sense in light of the studies reviewed earlier, a majority of people simply are not and were not susceptible to COVID-19. According to Levitt, the indiscriminate lockdowns implemented around the world were a huge mistake. He believes a more rational approach would have been to protect and isolate the elderly, who are by far the most vulnerable and make up the bulk of COVID-19 deaths around the world. Now, while risks associated with COVID-19 may be far more insignificant than feared for a majority of the population, they still exist for a minority. The elderly are clearly at greatest risk for severe infection and death, but African American, Asian, and other dark-skinned individuals are also susceptible, likely due to the fact that they tend to have lower vitamin D levels. Again, you remember we went through a whole show talking about vitamin D? Here we go. To bolster the immune system and lower your risk of COVID-19 infection in the future, it is recommended to be sure to follow instructions given in your vitamin D quote. It's you can search for this. Your vitamin D level must reach 60 nanograms per milliliter before the second wave. It's an article on Mercola.com. This is particularly true if you or someone you love is elderly or has darker skin. By addressing widespread vitamin D deficiency, we can significantly lower the COVID-19 mortality rate in the future. But we can't wait for the future to start doing it. We need to start doing it now. Because in preparing now, in taking steps now to effect protection, then when the future comes, we'll be sitting pretty. From all indications, COVID-19 has not gone away. So, how do we move forward? Do we stay away from each other even more? Or do we recognize that there are things that we have been doing and can do that help to protect us? And that there are people who are more susceptible to this virus than others. And if we don't want to admit why, that vitamin D deficiency is in large part a reason for that, then at least question it. You don't want to accept it? Question it. And question it with an open mind. Don't just question it and in order to say, you know what, I don't believe this, and you prove it to me. Question it to say, yeah, prove it to me, so that I can understand. But you have to be willing to understand. Go ahead, do the research. Search for it wherever you choose. Some people have their favorite medical journals that they get information from. Question them. And if there is something that I said that in presenting this information tonight that is contradictory to what you find, let's talk about it. Or you yourself can compare the two bits of information. One thing is for sure. This government has not had a record where they have presented all the facts all the time. So that is something that you may want to keep in mind, especially when reviewing information released by government agencies.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Enough is enough. Dirty virus. COVID-19.
This is the sound of Ed Robinson
Dirty virus.
as we kick off the closure of this night shift night. Dirty virus, your clot.
Since that day you came on this earth, you cause us pain, you make us hurt. Yes, we've been blind, but now the world can see. You're not alone around here, so take your owners and flee. Watch when a Lucifer, yo, dirty virus. COVID-19, yeah. You know, welcome round here. Dirty virus, yeah. Where you from? COVID-19, yeah. Carry some of them oppressors there when you leave. You like an evil spirit, you locked us down. We could not make one single sound. Like a yard man, we'll use the words and free the nation, free as the birds. Together we'll chant dirty virus. And that's a good word. COVID-19. That's a easy good one. Dirty virus. You try stop us, we'll stop you. COVID-19, right now, me tell you this enough. Our doctors and nurses, your respect is still. Keep on, fight the fight till the last one heal. So until that day when we can congregate, keep on, share this love, but let the virus kill the hate. So until then, let's chant dirty virus. I hope you know we have some more class. COVID-19, you think we can stop us from put them together? Dirty virus. COVID-19, yo, I know for sure some mainstream woodlands won't play this one on their radios. But who round ya care? We never need them then, so we don't need them now. Hey fool, but us, yo, a long time you remind we of these germs, yeah. Dirty virus. How you want me to call you right name? COVID-19, I'm interested in remembering your name. Dirty virus. Your friend swine. COVID-19, watch ya. Beat them. Them get a beating.
This is the son of Mr. Vegas. It's called Beat Them.
From King's house to Arms house,
never want to fight the crime out. Give us guns, then come with them lime out. Now them a pay the price, but mama nature they can't buy out. So on the move, come out of the way and make mama beat them. Them a get a beating. Beat them. The wicked them a get a beating. Your military now no defense. All your dollars now no make sense. Remember the little children, them how you turn them away, cause you don't have no conscience. Well, I make me go back in the past tense. Remember when you do to all me ancestors them. Every church locked down, you can't repent. You want your time now to face your judgment. Move, come out of the way and make mama beat them. Them a get a beating. Beat them. The wicked them a get a beating.
Started a prayer, but I didn't complete. So stressed out, fell asleep again. These last few days got me so weary. Started wondering.
This is the sound of Hezron.
Wish I could get a call from.
It's called Good News.
With a good news, even a lie to keep me going. 'Cause I swear things ain't going so well. I'm about to throw the towel in. But I hear a whisper, and it got louder and louder. Turn on the news and God, so heartbroken. Wars, hatred, separation, senseless bloodshed. I see the selfish and the proud hearts trying to act in your place. But woe be unto those who do wrong in your name. Wish I could get a sign from you now, something, anything to keep us believing. 'Cause as you see, so many have lost their way. Yeah, we need to know right away. I heard this whisper, and it got louder and louder.
Thanks to GMAC Music Solutions for sponsoring this segment of the show. GMAC Music Solutions brings your event to life, providing sound, light, production services, musical equipment, musicians, DJs, singers, audio engineers, PA systems, and so much more. Give them a call, 754-307-GMAC. That's 754-307-4622. Or visit them at gmacmusicsolutions.com, and you can also do your online shopping there. Tell them you heard about them on Night Shift to DJ Kevin Stew, yeah?
Massive. Listen. Tell me why
Why can't we all unite? Stop the fuss. Come on, let's stop the fight. Yeah.
This is the sound of Eva G.
Tell me why can't we all unite?
It's called Let's Unite.
Come on, Jah people, let's do this right. Where is the love for humankind? Have we all gone blind? Where is our love or humanity? We just a chase, running after vanity. Stop and think about what we have lost. You can't even measure how much it costs, yeah. Come on, Jah people, come on, let's share. There's no time like now to love and to care, so tell me why can't we all unite? Stop the fuss, come on, let's stop the fight, yeah. Tell me why can't we all unite? Come on, Jah people, let's do this right.
I hear the sound of love when you're talking love, but let me see your love when you're walking love, la la la, la la la.
This is Brian Hart.
Engaging love, speaking love, but I don't feel no love, see no love, la la la.
It's called Show Love.
La la la. Why don't you just show your love? Let the world see your love. Show your love. Don't hide your love. Show your love. Let the world see your love. Show the world what's inside your love. It only means more love you'll be getting back when you spread your love right around the clock. Tick-a-tock, tock. Tick-a-tick-a-tock, tock, tock, tock. Love is not just words. Love is an act. It's when you put an extra dollar in the old man's act. It's like that, yo. Look at that, yo. Why don't you just show your love? Let the world see your love. Show your love. Don't hide your love. Show your love. Let the world see your love. Show the world what's inside your love.
Girl, I promise I will be there for you through the ups and the downs. You can count on me. If
This is J. Will
you're feeling low,
working out to the Raps and Kush Band.
be there.
It's called There For You.
Yeah. You can count on me when the chips are down. You can count on me when skies look gray. Yeah. And girl, I want you to know that you're my best friend. And no tide could ever drift me away. Girl, I promise I will be there for you through the ups and the downs. You can count on me. If ever you're feeling lonely, I will be there for you, yeah, for you, for you, yeah. Loving you is a pleasure for me, baby, believe me. Just the person you are, you're making it easy. I'm gonna be there for you, baby, believe me. I'm open like a book so you can read it. And I promise I will be there for you through the ups and the downs. You can count on me. If ever you're
Yes, I know I'd really love to take you, and I'm sure that you would really like it there.
Giving you a Raps and Kush double play.
Clearly through my window.
This time it's G. Cole
It's a joy so sweet
and the J. Will.
in the air. Boom, boom, yeah. In this place.
It's called Old Days. Remember, you can check out G. Cole on Homegrown with G. Cole.
Where kids will never know. Take me back to the old.
Look him up on social media
Used to night.
and all your podcast platforms. He is everywhere.
Morning alive. Back to the old days. Those days I adore. Lovers would hold on tight on the dance floor. Back to the old days. Back in the old days. There's a love that overcomes me.
Overcome me, yeah.
In everyone that's in the crowd.
In the crowd, yeah, yeah.
I'll whisper softly to you.
Whisper something in your ear.
Ain't you hear me though it's loud? Boom, boom, yeah. And this love is in my memory. It's a love our kids will never know. Take me back to the old days when days used to nice. People were rocking way back till morning light. Back to the old days, those days I adore. Lovers would hold on tight on the dance floor. Back to the old days.
I remember walking on the old days.
Back in the old days.
Hey, yo, G-Foot, hey. Remember back in the day when dancehall used to nice. A place to relieve your stress and feel all the vibes. Some big sound a play speaker tall to the sky. And when the bassline drop, you see dim the street lights. Roll up and sing and grab a Guinness. Big tune a play beat down the wall, me no business. And keep me eye lock and heart too little Phyllis. Later on after party we got down a Guinness.
Yeah, in this place it's in my memory. It's a place our kids will never know. Take me back to the old days when days used to nice. People were rocking way back till morning light. Back to the old days, those days I adore. Lovers would hold on tight on the dance floor. Back to the old days. Back in the old days. Take me back to the old days.
Sweet soul rockin' in a rubber style, in a rubber style. Sweet soul rockin' in a rubber style, in a rubber style.
The son of King Genius himself, out of the UK.
In a rubber style. Sweet soul
One Harmony Music production. It's called Bandulu.
That's what you're doing all the time. Playing Bandulu on everyone's mind. You keep the people in utter darkness. Don't want them to see the fullness. Let them go, make them try. I'm sure there's a way they've got to survive. Go down, Bandulu man. Go down. Go down. You got to reach the ground. Don't let the system get you down. That will push you to the ground. People, open up your mind. Is that what you're hoping for? Can't you see there's no milk, no honey, no money, and that's not funny. Go down, Bandulu man, go down. Go down, you got to reach the ground. Sweet soul rockin' in rubber-dub style, in a rubber-dub style. Sweet soul rocking, in a rubber-dub style, in a rubber-dub style. Sweet soul rocking, in a rubber-dub style, in a rubber-dub style. Sweet soul rocking, in a rubber-dub style.
Everyone wants to be the man in the music scene. On social media, I flex with them iPhone screen.
This is new music.
But not all wanna put in work.
Father and son duo.
If I just want you a look, then you've got a long road to walk.
Pat Satchmo.
That's why we are
Paul Anthony.
We are the champion.
It's called Number One.
Can't keep us down. We're doing it for the love. Number one. We are the champions. Nobody can slow me down. Just keep it moving right around. See some of them out there chasing clout. They don't even understand what this game is about. I think enough of them need to go try out a different route. Cause the beast are gonna eat you up and forget to spit you out. That's why we are number one. We are the champions. Nothing can keep us down. We're doing it for the love. Number one. We are the champions. Nobody can slow we down. Just keep it moving right around.
Number one, yeah, champion. Hey, number one, yo, champion. Hey, we say this. You gotta walk like a champion, sharp like a arrow man. Get used to no one make friend with rejection. Youths, if you're lacking direction, just keep moving, cause there ain't no shortcuts to the top. Right, the key to success is to never stop. Out of sight, out of mind, turns a hit to a flop. And at the same time, you have to work on your craft. But my friend, them not gonna tell you when you sound walk, don't talk. Listen when the elder them must speak. Experience is strength and bad mind make you weak. Remember what we say and walk good down to straight. Nobody said this life was easy.
That's why we are number one. We are the champions. Nothing can keep us down. We're doing it for the love. Number one. We are the champions. Nobody can slow we down. Just keep it moving right around.
Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble.
It's Hezzy. For all the Hezzites.
Us is people. Oh no, once you hold me wrong.
Hezron, one time gone. 10 minutes to go.
Me put down me old gangster ways. Take up the Bible, put down the hard ways. God from Rasta and pagan ways. Out of nowhere, this boy misbehave. See me and me woman and a passing place. Lord of mercy, come take this case. Every time you come now, leave in a haze. So what you did there before me change me name. As if I did one time God. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. Lord of mercy, one time God. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. Tell them to leave a yellow boy. Tell them to trouble me now. Tell them to not trouble me now. Tell them to not trouble me now. Tell them to not. Cause if I did one time God, he wouldn't be so pretty at all. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. Lord of mercy, one time God, he wouldn't be so pretty at all.
Once you hold me rumble, look how you take me away from trouble, from the ways of evil now. This boy won't draw me out. Put me back in a broken circle. Alright, baby. As if I did one time, girl. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. Not a mercy. One time, girl. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. He wouldn't be so pretty at all. Oh Lord.
Yeah, just having a little fun. Eight minutes to go. I'm talking about having a little fun. I see my sister from another mister having tons of fun. And you can get in on the fun too. Tomorrow, the 1st of July, 7 p.m. Eastern, you can get in on the Canva Masterclass. Graphic design in Canva. It's a 2-hour live masterclass. Check her out, melissajane.com, or give her a call, 954-279-3893. Find out, hey, just ask her. Hey, Melissa, I heard Kevin talking about this last night. What's it about? How can I get involved? What can I learn from this? Do you have any other classes that might suit me? I want to do this. Let's check her out. She might have something for you. This is Christine Alicia. From the Juggling Volume 1 compilation.
Love is in the air.
It's called Sweet Reggae Song. I got 6 minutes? Watch this.
You're my vacation deal, my secret beach, nothing can compare. Ooh, your love is like a sweet reggae song. Come make me strong tonight. The DJ's playing our favorite song. Play till the morning light. See all the vibes just right. Everybody just a smile, leave your troubles behind. No time for a bad mind. No. Everyone's having a nice time.
Hey there, pretty boy, how you doing tonight? From what I can see,
Zambilique.
you're doing alright.
Let's just rent a tile.
They've been crowding your space. Now you must be tired, girl. Do you need a break? I'll just ask the DJ to slow it down a taste. We're not asking him to stop. Just play some one drop. We're not asking him to stop, no. Just play some love track. You can rent a time. In a rub-a-dub style, you can rent a time. All night, in a rub-a-dub style. We don't mind.
some old R&B. Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions, some good old Temptation. Just don't forget that good old one drop, some Sugar Man and some Gregory Isaac, so we can rent a time in our urban dubstep. We just rent a time in our urban dubstep.
Took a walk and past your house late last night.
This is Johnny Marie
And drawn
with the original Star Cartoon.
tight from within the dim lights cast.
It's called Silhouettes.
Silhouettes on the shade. Oh, what a lovely couple they made. Silhouettes, silhouettes, silhouettes. Ah, silhouettes.
Peeping through the window, watching you rent a tile.
Put her arms around your waist, held you tight. Kisses I could almost taste in the night. Wondering why I'm not the one whose silhouettes on the shade. I couldn't hide the tears in my eyes. Silhouettes, silhouettes, silhouettes. Ah, silhouettes, 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 silhouettes. Ah. Lost control and rang your bell. I was sore. Let me in or else I'll beat down your door. When two strangers who have been two silhouettes on the shade said to my shock, you're on the wrong block. Silhouettes, silhouettes, silhouettes. Ah, silhouettes, 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 silhouettes.
If you're gonna be peeking, make sure you peep on the right people.
Rushed out to your house with wings on my feet. Loved you like I never loved you, my sweet. Vowed that you and I would be two silhouettes on the shade all of our days. Two silhouettes on the shade. Silhouettes, silhouettes, silhouettes. You drive me crazy. Silhouettes, put your arms around me. Silhouettes, silhouettes, silhouettes. You should be mine. Silhouettes, baby. Silhouettes, silhouettes, silhouettes. Put your arms around me. Silhouettes, silhouettes, silhouettes.
Alright, so this is actually how we close out the night tonight. For the Star Cartoon. Thank you, Jenna Marie, for the Star Cartoon.
Two silhouettes on the shade all of our days. Two silhouettes on.
And thank you all for tuning in.
Silhouettes.
Catch y'all tomorrow, Real Talk Wednesday, when we close out the night shift week and start off the brand new month of July. July. No, it's true.
Silhouette, you should be mine. Silhouette, baby. Silhouette, silhouette.
Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you, wherever you are in the world. From right here in South Florida, I bid you a good night. Take care. Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.